Hello, sobat malming. How are you? It's a wonderful day today because we can see you again in satERdate with. It's been a while we didn't have a guest from abroad, and today we have a very special guest that makes our day more special.
That's right, Bu Uke. Our guest is from Taiwan, but actually we are still family because our guest is a representative from Taiwan Extensive Reading Association or TEERA.
Hmm. So it's kind of sibling with our Indonesian Extensive Reading Association or IERA then, Bu Yusifa?
Yeah, that's right, Mas Thomas. And
Yeah.
yes, we want to know more about TEERA today and also learn from TEERA also how they promote extensive reading in Taiwan.
Wow, I believe it's going to be very useful for IERA and also sobat malming out there. Right, Bu Uke and Mas Thomas?
Mm,
Of
yeah.
course.
All right, now let's greet our guests first. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, my dear sobat maming.
How are you?
Great to be with you.
Thank you
Okay.
for coming.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving anyway.
Yes, thank you. Same to you in Ohio, in Indonesia. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, Michael, thank you so much for being with us today.
Mhm.
I know
My
that
pleasure.
you are very busy and we really appreciate your time. And
Mhm.
Michael, could
Yes.
you introduce yourself first to our listeners, to Sobat Malming? Maybe who you are, where you are from, and what you do and you are doing, maybe. So Sobat Malming will know you better.
Okay. Sobat maming. I teach in Taichung, Taiwan at Fengjia University, and I've been there for 25 and a half years now. Actually, I'm getting ready to retire quite soon as well.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but originally, I am from Cleveland, Ohio, which is just about 2 hours to the north of Yusefa's position there at Ohio State University. And I actually went to university at Ohio University, which is about 1 hour down the road in the southeast corner of Ohio. So again, I came to Taiwan many years ago because Ohio University and Fengjia had an exchange program. So I came to Taiwan as an exchange teacher, and I did that for 2 years, at which point I was offered a full-time position. This was back in 1997, and I happily accepted and have been at Fengjia ever since. I am now married. I have a house. I have a son who just graduated from high school. So very much
Oh,
Taiwan is very much.
congratulations.
Yeah, he did pretty good. And so again, Taiwan is very much home for the last 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Michaels, for
Mm.
the beautiful introduction. Now, could you tell us why you are interested in working in the area of extensive reading? Because you are the chair of TEERA.
Hmm. Well, again, my background is in literature, not really in linguistics or TESOL or anything like that. So again, obviously for me, reading has always been an important source of knowledge, enjoyment, whatever. And I always felt, even before I knew that anything about extensive reading, I just felt that, you know, getting students connected with high interest material, it doesn't have to be literature, but it's just a great way, stories, everyone can relate to stories. So uh, I just always felt that this was a really a beneficial uh, material to get in front of our students. Okay, so the actual first time I heard about this whole idea of extensive reading was when Stephen Krashen was speaking at a nearby university back in like 2014, and a number of teachers from Fengjia, we kind of commandeered a van from the university that took us to the school and listened to Krashen, Dr. Krashen, sorry, talk about extensive reading and the power of reading. And to a man, to a woman, we were all really, really convinced. He's a very powerful speaker. it's like, you know, when Dr. Krashen speaks, you listen. And we came back to Fengjia really determined to somehow work this into our program. So again, I've been a big supporter. I've been doing, even when our program, the extensive reading part of our program, was kind of coming and going a little bit with as directors change and as university focuses change. At one point, extensive reading in our program became a little bit more optional, but I've stuck with it since 2015 and continue to be a very big believer. Right now, it's a big part of our program. 15 years ago, it was a big part of our program, but kind of there was a few years in the middle where people were feeling that we're just asking students to do too much. We had all kinds of different things we were asking students to do, and sometimes people felt that maybe ER was just asking too much of them. But that has since changed. We've had another influx of new directorship at the helm of the department, and once again, to be honest, Tom Robb came to give a speech at our ER seminar about 2 years ago, and got everybody really interested in extensive reading, M-Reader, whatever, all once again. So again, it's been a pretty constant part of my program for 15 years, a big part of our program for most of the last 15 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's progressing very well, especially because you're also hosting the last
Congress.
Extensive Reading World Congress, right? Yeah,
And
congratulations for that.
It was one of those things that we're very, very happy to do, but also very, very happy to have it over. You know, it was a constant. It was really a constant focus for 2 years. I don't know, Yusefa, if you were in the meeting in Tokyo when it was the hosting duties was passed on to TEERA or whatever, and from that day forward, it was just a nonstop focus of my life for most of 2 years. Again, very I loved that we did it. Happy to have it.
Yeah, it was such an amazing congress. Very happy. Yeah, very
that was
good
a nice
congress.
Yeah, and I think
Too
too,
bad I missed that.
Well, you have another one. So you guys have already decided. I think I already posted on our Facebook site that it's going to be 2022 now, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Because of the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Next year
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I think Taiwan is also similar with Indonesia, right? I mean, we learn English as a foreign language. So could you tell us a little bit first about the English language teaching and learning in Taiwan and how students perceive English learning in general?
Well, I mean, I would say that like Indonesia, like Japan, like about anywhere in the world, we have students who just love language study, English language study or whatever the language may be. Unfortunately, we have an equal number of students who, if I never have to take another English class in my life, that'll be wonderful or whatever. So there's two extremes. And even with extensive reading, you have to deal with that. You have students who, they pick up their first book and they love it. I've never read a book in English before, and this was, it was actually even easy for me or whatever. So there's a sense of accomplishment. But again, you have some, not many. In fact, my students are actually quite, whether they love it or not, they do their work. And again, I think with extensive reading, that's the main thing. Just get the input, right? If you love it, that's a bonus. If we can create a sense of the positive power of reading, that's a bonus. But the main thing we want to do is make sure students get the input that they need. As far as I published a paper in the Teflon Journal about English learning in Taiwan, and it's very much based towards, I mean, everything. I don't know about Indonesia quite as well as like in Japan, but it's all about, the next exam, right? Even students in kindergarten take exams to get into the best elementary school, and if you want to get into the best junior high school, it's an exam. So obviously, the curriculum is very exam driven, right? It's getting students to be able to read intensively, to somehow try to memorize. I mean, the idea is that the Ministry of Education says that students will know 4,800 words when they graduate from senior high school. That's, memorize these words. You'll see some in context, but there's a lot of like rote memorization too. And that number is actually down from like 7,000 something a few years ago. What they've done is they've tried to add a little bit more communication skills to the required curriculum. So they've brought down the number of vocabulary words, but it's still a lot. And again, we test students on their vocabulary knowledge when we start the ER program. We kind of need to know how many words do you know or whatever. And it's never anywhere near the 4,400 or 4,800 words that they supposedly are supposed to know. So again, very much exam driven, very much teacher led, teacher directed as opposed to student centered, big classes. And yeah, but again, you have some very, very successful learners. We get our freshman program at Fengjia is divided into 4 levels. We get a lot of really good students. We get a lot of weaker students as well. So it's all over the board.
Yeah. Okay, Michael.
Similar to, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Michael, please. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, is that similar to your situation in Indonesia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
Michael, you have mentioned a little bit about extensive reading, but we want to know more about TEERA actually. Who initiated TEERA, and then also why do you think the association is important for maybe teachers or some people there?
Okay. Well, when I was director of our Foreign Language Center from 2008 to 2012, and when I stepped down as director, I still wanted to kind of work with extensive reading, right? So I kind of started thinking of ways to continue to promote extensive reading. I had been to the JOLT ER SIG seminar in 2012, and when I found out that, wow, there's this thing called the Extensive Reading Special Interest Group under JOLT, I was like, wow, this is really something. This is something that Taiwan should pursue. In 2014, I had been in touch. I had done a series of interviews. I published a book of interviews with some of the big ER people in Asia and really around the world. But I just had gotten in touch with some of the Extensive Reading Foundation people, Mark Helgeson and Rob and stuff like that, had helped me with my book. And then I just kind of asked, hey, if we were to put together a one-day ER seminar at my school, would the Extensive Reading Foundation be able to support us? And they go, sure, of course. We will, send you a speaker. We'll pay for his airfare. Well, we covered the hotel and the food and blah, blah, blah. But they're very, very, very excited to, spread the ER word. And so they helped us with our seminars. We did one in 2014, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And during the course of these one-day seminars at my school, I just got to know a lot of other people around Taiwan who are interested in extensive reading. So TEERA just kind of organically grew out of like, oh yeah, we should do this. Oh yeah, we should do that. So we got a bunch of people to kind of sign on. We decided to go the official route and made an application through the Taiwan Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Interior, to get Taiwan level recognition. That took a long time, but that did pass. We also made an application to become an official affiliate of the Extensive Reading Foundation. That passed much more quickly. So again, by 2017, we had local recognition and international recognition. And as you know, in 2019, the Congress came. So again, basically what we see, our duty is as a proponent, you know, I've been to schools to introduce extensive reading, to introduce M-Reader, show people how to do it and how you can use certain free material to make extensive reading programs happen. Again, what we haven't done is like what the Indonesian Association is doing. Kind of when COVID hit, we were planning another seminar in May of this year, but again, COVID got in the way of that. Nobody could travel locally, internationally, or whatever. So we did not think as far ahead as you guys did and start going online, which I think is a great idea. I mean, just you're still able to keep the ER promotional activities going forward. So again, I salute IERA for those efforts. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. But I think you have done a very wonderful job, and I think it's similar to where we started, like Buladoke. So actually, we started IERA in 2016 with me, and then Lanoke, Laksmita, and also Anita, just the four of us. And then gradually we found actually a lot of ER enthusiasts. I mean, like they have been doing that, only that we actually didn't really have a community, like community with same patient. And then so we have IERA, and like one by one started to join. But actually they have started ER probably earlier than us, but we just didn't find them yet. So
well, yeah. I mean, Indonesia is a huge, right? It's a huge country, so it's really impossible to stay connected with everyone. Taiwan is a much more concentrated. Now, again, I would say, as I said in the article I wrote for Teflon Journal, was that, I mean, it does get a lot of pushback from some teachers, right? Some teachers, and I kind of mentioned this on the webinar we did maybe about 3 weeks ago, is like this whole idea of, I mean, easy reading, I totally believe in that, but sometimes the message to some, you know, high-level professors or whatever, the easy reading, well, what's the purpose of that? So again, we obviously with TEERA, whatever, we still need to make sure that point gets clear, that it's easy reading, yes, but for each level of students. So if you're capable of reading a higher level book, please, that's where you should be. I mean, it should still be easy. You should not have to follow, you know, it should not be tied to your dictionary. But again, if we want to see language growth, right, we can't all just be staying at, you know, the children's picture book level or whatever. We want to. So again, that was the only point I was trying to make, that yeah, easy reading, but easy reading for each individual student, right?
Michael, now, since you're talking about making students believe that easy reading is very possible to do, could you share a little bit about TEERA's program, which specifically to motivate students to read?
Well, I'm not sure TEERA necessarily has that as part of our program. That's something that I believe really needs to be done at the individual level. I mean, a teacher has to be the one to inspire students. That's why I say, like at Fongjia, we have you know, we have a lot of our courses are taught by part-time teachers who may or may not. We try to get them up to speed on the theory of extensive reading, but you know, they're at one university on Wednesday morning, they're at a different university on Wednesday afternoon, they're at this textbook at this school, and this textbook at this school. So and if you don't really have a passion, if you don't really have a full, clear understanding of of extensive reading, it may not get communicated to students, like exactly what's the point of doing this reading. It's like, oh, is this just some extra homework I need to do and take some more quizzes? And it's like, well, no. I mean, that's maybe how you're perceiving it, but there's really again, for me, I always like to think of this image of a student sitting on a park bench or sitting on their bus or a train on the way home, or just curled up on their bed in their dormitory room with a book and just reading, and I think that's where so much of education really needs to take place. We put students in classes and we teach all 40, 50 students the same thing at the same time with the same materials. But so much of individual learning, and my most successful students have always been students who have found some way to continue learning outside the classroom, right? And so I think for a lot of students, extensive reading can be that way. I've had, like, one of the best students I ever had, and he never left Taiwan, he had never been out of the country or whatever, but he learned from reading movie scripts, right? He saw movies that he really liked. He would go online and find the script and read, and not really study it, but just read it and enjoy it. So again, that whole idea of like connecting reading to something that is enjoyable, whatever, I think is also very, very, very important. So I don't know if I answered your question so much, but I mean, TEERA, we really try to, we don't focus on students so much. We focus on teachers, and teachers, getting that passion and getting a clear understanding, and that they're the ones really are responsible for translating that passion to their students. And I think our best students, our best classes at our university are the ones where the teachers are really on board on extensive reading, and their students get it, and that's when good things, positive things happen.
Very good point.
True. Yeah,
That's very good point. True. Okay. Now, what about the reading resources, Michael? So what kinds of reading resources do you use, and why do you decide to use them? Or maybe you and other teachers?
Yeah. Well, when we first started our program, 2005, I believe, Fongjia, my school, has really risen up the ranks of, it's now considered like one of the best private universities in all of Taiwan. And as you raise up the ranks, money follows, right? So in 2005, when we decided to start our extensive reading program, Chris, my friend Chris, who was then director, and I was called the Zuzang, like the head of the foreign language division, we made an appointment with the director of the libraries and said, we're starting this program. This is kind of what we need. And basically, at that point, we didn't have a lot of the popular series we have now. We had Bookworms and Macmillan Readers and Cambridge Readers and Penguin. And I said, hey, we need a lot of these books. And they said, no problem, done. And sure enough, we got a library of about 8,000 readers very, very, very quickly, or whatever. It was just, and because it was a required part of the program, students had to borrow the books. When students are borrowing books, the librarian gets a big smile on his face, because, oh, if I got people borrowing books, that means next year my budget goes even higher. So again, it was really a win-win situation for everyone. But again, we couldn't have done the program without the support of the library, the university, as well as the library, whatever. So again, at that point, we just asked students to read. It was part of a wider scale independent learning program. And so we didn't ask students to read so much, but we asked them to read on a very regular basis. And the library books were available. Teachers were required to monitor in some way. Now, again, that some way was left to individual teachers, and then we did book reports, reading logs. I created a bunch of quizzes and shared them with my colleagues. And every time I switched to a new level, I had to read more books and write more quizzes. And at some point, mReader became available to all of us, and we switched everything to mReader. But at that point, we were always using library books. Students were reading outside of class, taking quizzes online, and teachers were there to monitor their reading. This year, my dear friend Paul Goldberg was very persistent in trying to get us to try X reading. The school is covering half of students' X reading fees, and students pay one half as well. And this year we are using X reading. We've only been using about, we have only been using about 10 weeks now or whatever, but again, very, very positive. That one is wonderful because with the library books, sometimes students will complain, oh, I go over and I can't find any books, they're all taken out. Or when you have 3,600 students using a space with 8,000, 9,000 books, it becomes, books get thrown all over the place and they go down there. And so it was not a very, the library wasn't very successful in keeping the area nice and clean and orderly or whatever. Now with X reading, So with X reading, all students have 1,300 books right in their hand at any time because their smartphone is always right in their hand. So again, on buses, in the shower, wherever they can do their they can do their reading. So it becomes students have no. I mean, we still have students who don't care for reading, but a majority of students are getting that input, and it's wonderful. I mean, you can't complain. You can't find a book. There's 1,300 books right there. Surely you can find something. Right. One thing with X reading too is I've discovered just that it's important for teachers to give students a little guidance as far as like I won't say now, but I have like 2 series that I think are really great books, right? And I tell them just click here, and you'll only see those books, right? So instead of having 1,300 books, you can limit it to say like 120, and from there students can find their level and find something. They have a little summaries. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let me try reading that. We also have things like I had students do like in a pair. They did a poster presentation with a partner, and they were very engaged with that. I was very happy with the response there. But students were like passionately talking about a book they read, and what I could do with that is that, hey, some of your classmates read this book and they thought it was really, really good, and pass it on to them. And it's like, well, okay, I can read that book for my next book or whatever. So X reading really allows a lot more word of mouth, sharing suggestions, sharing recommendations. It also has like rankings like, hey, look at this book, 100% ranking, right? This is like, 400 students have read this book in Japan and blah, blah, around the world, and 100% of students say this is a good book. Read it, right? So again, that's something that I think is pretty powerful, very, very useful, which is, singular to the X reading site, whereas MReader, it's just quizzes. It's a great site. I love it. I was an administrator for 3 years, and I know it in and out. But X reading has got that something extra for a fee, no doubt, for a fee. But it's really a great answer to, and it's also like another thing. Just very quickly, it's something you could try for like 1 year, right? If you're not sure if extensive reading will be successful in your particular school, somehow try to find the funding from your school or from wherever to try it for 1 year. If students like it, then you could think about, well, maybe now it's time to invest in paper books or something, but instead of going out and buying, like we did, 8,000 books and not knowing if it would be successful or not, X reading allows you to try for maybe a short term and see, can we motivate students to read? If yes, you could stick with X reading, or then you could think about investing in a library of books. But yeah.
That's true.
It's definitely
this is very inspiring. What is it? The way you use the sources, and then how you tell the students how to use it, so that this the word of mouth. I think that's what is stronger to influence others to read. You said before that your students are highly motivated, and then the teachers there believe in extensive reading. But then, Michael, do you still find any challenges to promote extensive reading in Taiwan? What are mostly the challenges, and how do you overcome it?
Well, again, anything new, there's automatic resistance to doing something that you haven't done before. So obviously, we need to continue to share. I want to say to share the research, but not just share research papers, but to actually, you know, in a teacher-friendly way, let high school teachers and University of Technologies teachers, well, just let them know that extensive reading does provide benefits. Again, so often our students in high school are just, I don't want to say thrown, that's kind of it's an impolite term, but it's just they're bombarded with all kinds of language, but their ability to like understand all the language that is presented to them is a challenge. Whereas what extensive reading really does is, you know, if you're reading at your level and you're kind of following the text, that's when you use that word, or they can just see, they can notice, you know. So much of the intensive reading, your students, all their cognitive powers are just focused on trying to decode and understand what exactly is being said here. Whereas, and you can't really, there's no time, there's no available brain power, brain space to like notice, oh, there's an interesting language feature that I didn't know about. But in extensive reading, students have, you know, it's usually outside of class. The quizzes are supposed to be very simple or whatever. There's no pressure to understand every word, but so your brain is a little bit more free just to kind of notice the language more. And that's why I was saying before, that little picture of people kind of cuddled up with a book or whatever. And again, that's where a lot of the reading takes place. Rob Waring, when he was in our, spoke at our seminar, I think back in 2016, it made a really good point. There's too much about language learning to teach. Right? There's just too much for students to, there's too much for you to teach them every little facet of the language. They need to have some way of noticing things, picking up things on their own, and I think that's what extensive reading is the role that it can really play. Whether it's just noticing things in dialogue, whether it's noticing, like one of the things that students in Taiwan do is they put the definite article "the" way too many times in a sentence or whatever. But if they can just kind of read and say, oh, they don't use the university there, they just go to university. I don't know, just, you know, those kind of things where you can just notice real language at your level. I think that's so important. I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing the what was your original question though? I'm not sure
I think it's about challenges.
Yeah, the challenges.
Yeah, and I think
yeah. Well, the challenges are maybe from the teachers. Just like I say, it's just kind of new to them. It's not the way they learned. It's not the way they've been teaching for 20 or 30 years. It's really not the way that I mean, we don't have a lot of, we have, TEERA has MOE recognition, but the Ministry of Education does not really in itself promote extensive reading. You know, they're much more of an intensive reading, test preparation kind of curriculum. So, and again, teachers also say, this is more from the teacher's point of view, is that they just don't have time. They have so much other things they need to cover in class. But again, one of the wonderful things about extensive reading is it can be done very effectively outside of class, right? So that's again, if you have the resources or if you have the financial ability or whatever, extensive reading can really be a great addition, not a replacement. It doesn't, you don't have to take anything out of your program, but it's just getting students to and again, in high school, maybe they have English class 3 different times a week or whatever, but at the university, it's just once a week. So I only make my students say Monday morning or Tuesday afternoon or whatever. In between this Monday and next Monday, I want to keep them connected to language learning or whatever. And again, extensive reading, that's the ticket.
Yeah.
Very inspiring.
Mm.
Very inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing, Michael. I believe IERA
Yeah.
listeners learn a lot from your sharing. You bring up a lot of good points here. Okay, the last one, Michael. Do you have any messages for IERA listeners related to developing reading habit, like maybe short messages?
A short message.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my dear sobat, malming, my final message would be students, everyone loves a good story. Extensive reading is a great way of giving students a chance to read great stories that they can respond to, be inspired by. And again, it's just something you don't get in intensive reading, something you don't get in textbook reading. Sometimes, yeah, some people put it very inspiring stories or whatever. But again, I just think that extensive reading has an ability to connect with students because they're just built around great stories. And as an English major who has read hundreds, thousands of great stories, I think it's a really very powerful learning tool.
Okay. Wow, Michael, such a powerful message.
Good. I'm trying to get my thumb up there. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it.
Why can't I find it? There it is.
That's very good, Michael. So I
Okay.
would like to repeat that again. Everyone loves a good story, and ER is a great way for students to get that good stories. Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Michael, before we end our session, let's have trivia questions. Yeah, you have to answer these questions quickly without thinking.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
I'm good at that.
So you have to like directly answer that question. Okay?
Okay.
The first question for you, Michael. Okay. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book is The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner, but it's not suitable for ER students.
Okay, but that's your favorite book. Okay, that's so quick. Usually it's the hardest question, Michael, but you answer it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second question, where is your favorite place to read?
To read? Just on my sofa with the sunshine and a cool breeze coming in from outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
Don't
That
even
will
need
be
to leave the
amazing.
house. In COVID-19 times, it's right there in the corner. Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Okay, Michael. Once again,
Yes.
thank you so much for your sharing today. We hope we
my
can meet
pleasure.
in person in the future later, maybe
2022.
22.
Yeah. Yeah.
Send
Pick out a good homestay for me.
Okay.
Oh, you can stay in Thomas' house. Free. Yeah. And Thomas will take you to many beautiful places in Yogyakarta, and he will provide you with the best Yogyakarta, like the best food from Yogyakarta. It's on Thomas.
I accept your invitation. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And Michael,
yeah,
we will wait for you to come to Indonesia. And for now, we can only send our warm regards to TEERA members, all TEERA members, and keep up the good work in spreading the ER virus. Thank you so much, Michael.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Also, thank you to Sobat Malming for listening to our talk today. We will see you again next week. Stay healthy and happy, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.